Oh, I read about this course online which is called Managing Your Boss. A lot of leaders didn't like the title of it. For one, it's let sparks fly the moment certain function heads and others heard this title. They said, "Oh, someone's going to manage me." That was the initial reaction of people. But come to think of it, all of us, in some way or another, set off by the 11 clusters of the dark side of Hogan, which I spoke about in my earlier video, all of us are actually managing different traits of our boss, and we're joining that dysfunctional dance, as I call it. And sometimes we join into it and become party to it, and sometimes we know how to manage it without being affected by it. Probably because we know how to manage our own behavior and we know how to see it the way others don't. Now, let me pick up the example of insecure intimidators. How do you manage them? One is give them their space and be strategic when you're about to deliver any bad news to them about something not happening, something getting delayed, and so on. Be very careful about and thoughtful about the timing when you're going to look at their mood and you're about to share something. And of course, no surprises to bosses like these. Send them issues in advance about on email about a conversation that's going to happen, what to expect, and so on, and give them time to process this. And of course, most importantly, send them the underlying message that you're on their side and you have their back. Number two, when we look at charismatic seducers, people who are very charismatic and they something about those kind of bosses is give them the respect and attention that they really crave for. Expect that they'll take the credit of other people's ideas, and anything that goes wrong, be ready to pass around the blame for any of the mistakes that happen. What they like is someone who praises their success with a detailed recounting of how wonderful and admirable they are and how people can learn from their examples. The feedback should not be too threatening to their need to see themselves as amazing. One of the things that you can do is tell them that how certain troubling behaviors can cause some people to see them as less amazing, and that will probably make them aware and change them. Let's look at the needy ingrediators. The needy ingrediators, they like to be valued and they fear being rejected or being judged. So even at the slightest hint that they are being judged or being rejected will trigger that behavior in them. One of the best things that you can do is to frame the feedback in such a way that frame the feedback as such that the trust and confidence that others have in them will be undermined, and signal that the high expectations of a diligent boss need to be upheld to their perfectionist standards. Sympathize with the dutiful boss's eagerness to please his boss, but don't expect him to run for cover when anyone from his boss. And finally, one of the most important things among all this that I've said is you need to understand your own dark side, and so that you don't end up joining them and becoming one of them. The risk of blind obedience to the reckless plan of maybe a mischievous boss, and the sparks will fly when an excitable boss is set off by a bold employee doing his own thing against a boss's preference, which is something very common in the Indian context. And of course, this advice I give you assumes that you know your own dark side, and you know what is your capacity to manage it.